Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something that's really been unfolding quickly. It's a situation that hits right at the heart of free speech, media power, and, well, politics in America. Our goal, like always, is to help you cut through some of the noise and get a really clear understanding of what's genuinely at stake.
Exactly.
We're zeroing in on the recent drama involving Jimmy Kimmel's suspension from his show, President Trump's comments right after that about network licenses, and then this immediate, pretty intense wave of reactions, both backlash and defense.
Yeah, it's a potent mix. And what's really fascinating, I think, is seeing how fast one incident, a specific event, can ignite this much bigger national debate. It really forces a look at foundational principles.
Right.
And our sources, they really give us a snapshot of that immediate fallout. It shows just how tangled these issues are, especially for you, our listener, who wants to look beyond just the headlines.
Definitely. So let's start with the spark, the flashpoint. The first ripple was the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel's late night show. But what really set things off was President Trump's reaction. Aboard Air Force One, he didn't just, comment on it. He apparently cheered the suspension openly to reporters, and then he took it further.
Right. That's the key part.
The reporting says he went on to suggest something much bigger, that networks covering him negatively, his words, should potentially lose their broadcasting licenses.
Which is quite a statement.
It is. He threw out a number, too, claiming networks were 97% against me. And here's a detail that caught a lot of attention. When asked where that number came from, he apparently said he just read it someplace.
Not exactly rigorous sourcing there.
No, but he used it sort of as a weapon, you could say. His exact quote was, again, 97% negative, and yet I won easily. I won all 7 swing states. They give me only bad press. Maybe their licenses should be taken away. And then, to sort of underscore the point, he praised Brendan Carr, the FCC chair, called him a great patriot, said he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
That really framed the whole debate that erupted, didn't it?
Absolutely. And this is where we need to sort of connect it to the bigger picture. When a sitting president even suggests revoking broadcast licenses based on content, well, that directly prods the very delicate balance between government power and the press.
Which is fundamental in a democracy.
Totally fundamental. And it raises that crucial question. What power does the government actually have over licenses regarding content? Historically, the FCC, and for anyone needing a refresher, they're basically the air traffic controllers for broadcasting.
Yeah.
Their main job has been about technical stuff. Managing spectrum, setting standards, some public interest things like kids' TV or local news.
Right, not judging news reports.
Exactly. Policing news, content, or political opinions. That hasn't really been their mandate. So the mere suggestion of pulling licenses, even if it's legally shaky and would face huge First Amendment challenges, it weaponizes the idea of regulation.
It creates a kind of fear.
Precisely. It creates what legal scholars call a chilling effect. Media outlets might start to self-censor, maybe pull back on critical stories, just out of fear of potential repercussions. Even if the threat isn't immediately real in a legal sense, that's the underlying danger here.
And that suggestion definitely lit a fire. The political reaction was immediate and pretty fierce. Pressure started mounting on FCC Chair Carr right away. Our sources show House Democrats quickly called for him to resign. And California Congressman Ro Khanna, he took a concrete step, moved to subpoena Carr before the Oversight Committee.
Taking it seriously.
Very. Khanna's words were strong. He accused the administration of, and this is a direct quote, initiating the largest assault on the First Amendment and free speech in modern history. They're making comedy illegal. That's quite a charge.
Making comedy illegal, yeah. That broadens it beyond just news.
It does. And it wasn't only current members of Congress. Former President Barack Obama weighed in, too, with what the sources called a sharply worded post on X.
Okay. What did he say?
He accused the Trump administration of using government power to, quote, muzzle dissent and punish journalists. And he linked it directly to the whole cancel culture debate.
Interesting angle.
Yeah, he said, after years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration has taken it to a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like.
So connecting threats to actual employment consequences.
Exactly. And he gave an example. The firing of Washington Post columnist Karen Adia after some social media posts she made about political violence. Obama framed that as part of this larger trend.
Right.
And he warned that this kind of thing is precisely the kind of government coercion that the First Amendment was designed to prevent. The whole idea that the press needs to operate without fear of government payback.
The core principle.
And just to add to that, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer was also very blunt. He warned Trump's remarks were part of a campaign to snuff out free speech. Strong words all around.
It really is striking how quickly the focus shifted, isn't it? From one specific event, Kimmel's suspension, straight to these fundamental First Amendment principles.
Yeah, it escalated fast.
And the examples people are bringing up, like the Karen Attias situation, they point to this worry about indirect pressure, too. Not just direct threats like license revocation. It's this fear that if a president can, lean on companies to hire or fire based on coverage.
It creates that chilling effect you mentioned.
Exactly. It potentially undermines the whole point of having a free press that can hold power accountable. And zooming out a bit, these statements, they're articulating this deep-seated fear that it's not just about one host or one network anymore.
It's about the institution itself.
Right. That it's a fundamental challenge to the independence of the press, which, as we've said, is seen as a cornerstone of democracy. It's about how governments might try to control the narrative, maybe not always through legal means, but just through threats and pressure.
Which feels particularly relevant now.
Especially now. In today's media world, things are so fragmented. The impact of rhetoric like this can get amplified really quickly. It makes it harder, maybe, to draw that line between and actual attempts to silence dissent.
And that leads us to the bigger picture, because this isn't just playing out within the U.S., is it? The sources stress this has become, quote, a referendum on the independence of the American press itself.
Yeah, the stakes feel really high.
The reporting draws parallels globally. It points out that around the world, you see authoritarian leaders trying to weaken journalism through censorship, through licensing threats, intimidation.
Tactics we see elsewhere.
Right. Things like blocking news websites, making it tough for journalists to work freely. And the concern highlighted by critics here is that Trump might be, quote, taking the U.S. down that same path.
That's a serious charge.
It is. And news outlets like The Guardian, other independent sources, they're arguing that what's really on the line is this basic principle, that people in power don't get to dictate news coverage no matter how much they dislike it. It's about preserving that ability for the press to be a watchdog, essentially. Without that independence, that function really breaks down.
Which brings us to maybe the most complicated part. How different people are seeing these exact same events. Because our sources make it really clear there's a deep split here.
Okay.
What's crucial to grasp is that for many of President Trump's supporters, this just isn't seen as a crisis. Not at all.
How are they framing it then?
Their view, often, is that the president is finally standing up to what they see as a biased, even hostile media establishment. For them, the media isn't some neutral observer. It's perceived as part of the political opposition.
So his comments are seen differently.
Completely. Far from being condemned, his remarks about licenses and the 97% figure, they're reportedly being shared widely online in pro-Trump spaces. It's framed as evidence of the bias against him, and him just, fighting back.
So it confirms their existing view.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which leads to what the source calls these two sharply different realities existing side by side. On one side, you have a reality where Trump is battling an unfair press, pushing back against biased narratives.
Okay.
And on the other side, a reality where Trump is seen as leading a dangerous attack on free expression, undermining core democratic pillars like the First Amendment.
Two completely different interpretations.
Fundamentally different, based on different assumptions about media trustworthiness, about government power, maybe even about what truth or fairness even means in public life.
Yeah.
And when you have that kind of split, that deep division in how reality itself is perceived, well, it makes finding common ground incredibly difficult.
Yeah, it really highlights the polarization.
Profoundly. It makes it hard to even agree on a basic set of facts to discuss.
So wrapping this up, where does this leave us? We've kind of unpacked Trump's comments, the strong reactions from figures like Obama, Schumer, Khanna, and importantly, these clashing interpretations across the country. The sources are pretty clear. What happens next, quote, could define not just the 2025 political season, but the future of the First Amendment itself. It feels like a really pivotal moment for media, politics, and our rights.
It does. It shows how these big principles get tested in the real world constantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's really compelling, I think, is seeing how these two realities, these two deeply held convictions based on different starting points, create such a complex and, frankly, challenging situation for everyone, for the media, for citizens, for governing.
Yeah.
Which brings us to a final thought, really question for you, our listener, to maybe reflect on. In a climate where truth and fairness feel so contested, how do we as individuals figure out where that line is? The line between legitimate, necessary criticism of the press and attempts to actually silence it.
That's the key question, isn't it?
It is, and maybe what's our own responsibility in defending free expression, even for ideas or reporting that we might strongly disagree with, recognizing that it plays a vital role, regardless. It's something that probably requires ongoing thought, maybe now more than ever.